Good evening. I call this Iowa City Community School Board meeting on Tuesday, April 24th, 2018 to order. My name is Janet Godwin, and I want to thank those in the audience, those watching on television, and those following on Twitter for joining us tonight. I'll start by introducing those at the table with me. To my right, Superintendent Steve Murley, Directors Ruthina Malone, Phil Hemingway, Lori Rotlin, J.P. Clausen, Sean Eystone, Paul Ressler, and Recording Secretary Kim Colvin. The public is reminded that if they wish to speak, they need to complete a speaker form found at the table in the lobby and turn it in. During community comment, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. All community comment directed at non-agenda items and agenda items shall take place at the beginning of the meeting during the community comment section of the agenda. And we will start community comment with Caroline House.
My name is Caroline House, as you've probably already inferred. I'm a 7th grader at Southeast Junior High, and I come as a representative from Glow Club, or gay, lesbian, or whatever club, about the issues in schools. So it is a big issue, but I'm afraid not many people know how to address these issues. First off, many teachers don't know how to help a student who is being harassed for gender or sexual identity, since there isn't a proper kind of teaching, if that makes any sense. They don't know how to help. Even teachers who are monitoring the hallways, the amount of things that are getting by, like the amount of times I've been personally catcalled and words that I don't even want to repeat that have been heard, and hall monitors don't care. There's nothing, there's no help, there's also the lack of transgender and non-binary bathrooms and locker rooms. There's only, I believe, one in the whole building of Southeast. One out of, like, a lot of bathrooms. So a lot of non-binary people or people who don't identify as male or female, for TE, they have to, like, walk down the hallway to change. And it's not like a whole regular bathroom with 1 or 3 stalls. It's like one stall, and if there's more than one non-binary person in PE, then dumb luck. And 4 out of 5 LGBTQ students have experienced harassment, 9 out of 10 have experienced verbal harassment, and 1 out of 3 miss school because they are afraid of being harassed, according to the LGBTQ Youth Journal. So there needs to be a proper education, possibly by students, about like how to inform the use of preferred pronouns, and there needs to be more clubs like Glow Club where people can learn and understand, and maybe because all around Southeast there are these anti-bullying posters, and if we have these, why can't we have posters about LGBTQ harassment? And look, a lot of this may just be ignorance, and people do say ignorance is bliss, but in this case, ignorance is not bliss. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next up, Rajan Shah, and following Rajan is Tony Malcusac.
Oh, okay, no problem, thank you. All right, thank you. Yes, my name is Rajan, and I'm speaking on behalf of our neighborhood, Forest Gate, sort of subdivision, which is just north in Iowa City, and specifically about the issue of redistricting our neighborhood to a different school district. So initially, before the proposed redistricting map, we were districted to go to Wickham for elementary, and then that would then go to West for high school. And I think the proposed redistricting has us now going to Penn and I believe Liberty. And I think the general consensus for neighborhood is, historically we've been at Wickham, and if you just, I think you all have handouts that sort of show the geography. We're the little red circle, about 0.4 miles from Wickham, and it's actually walking distance. There's a little path that goes so kids can walk, with parents or even on their own to the school and would not require, a school bus or to be driven. And even if they were to be driven, it would be much closer than Penn, which is about 3.5 miles away. So geographically, that makes a lot more sense. As far as the high school goes, there's some a bit debate in terms of what would be better for the neighborhood. I think right now Wickham would be districted to West, which is actually further away than Liberty. So I think the sense is that what would work best would be to have to be districted to Wickham and either be allowed to go to Liberty for high school, or at least have the choice between Liberty and West. And mainly this is just an argument based on proximity. The other issue, or at least benefit to going to Wickham, is that it's in the direction of travel or commuting for most of the members of the neighborhood. And so that's basically it. It's more just a question of whether we can consider modifying the proposed redistricting map so that way our subdivision still is able to go to Wickham for elementary school, and then maybe have the decision between Liberty versus West for high school. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Tony, and following Tony, Susie Poulton.
I'll talk loud enough. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Melcusack, and I'm a resident of Iowa City Schools. I have two children, a senior in City High and a son who has special needs at Lucas Elementary School. And I'm here to talk about two different topics. The first is the contract that was awarded regarding the playground testing, and then the second is on the playground committee and the topic of inclusive playgrounds. The first area, as you all are well aware, there's been a Department of Justice complaint filed against the school district. Actually, there were two. One was withdrawn, and there's still one out there. That's a big deal. And I applaud the school district for getting out in front of the issue and looking to have testing done in the school playground areas. I commend all of you for that. Commend staff for getting out in front of that as well. Thing is, this is a big deal with the Department of Justice. They do not respond to all inquiries, and this one in the playground industry is huge. I've spent my 30 years of my professional career in the area of playgrounds. It's all I do for a living. I do trainings, I do a lot of things regarding play environments and play areas. This is a big deal, and having a company that's never done any testing before, I think, is something to share with you all as far as efficiencies go, purchasing equipment and training them didn't seem to me to be a reasonable look at this big issue as far as this complaint filed. Now, part of it I'll blame on myself. Sometimes you need to look locally, and marketing, I'll put that on myself in terms of education with staff and such moving forward, but also due diligence. Now, I was going to say, if you all want to, look at your smartphones if you have one. If you Google Iowa City playground safety, ADA, inclusive playgrounds, drop testing, my company, Abundant Playscapes, comes up on the first page. So with some due diligence, that connection would have also been made. The second topic that I want to talk about is the opportunity that you all, again, looking to put our best foot forward, is creating this playground committee to look at how we design and incorporate playgrounds in our environments. This is an opportunity for the district to be great. This is the opportunity for the school district to put the bar above just mere ADA compliance. On your page, or web page, it says child-centered, future-focused. It says it everywhere in your stuff. Well, if that's really the case, then the board should look at setting that bar for inclusive playgrounds. I'm hearing, and that was part of the problem with other Shimmick and some of the other schools. There was a disconnect between inclusive play, which we need to educate and set those expectations for folks, as well as what ADA means and just mere compliance. And I want to challenge the board to look at setting the bar for inclusive playgrounds in this playground committee and how we move forward, not just merely settling for an ADA compliant playground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Susie.
Hi, I'm Susie Polton, Health Services Coordinator in the district, and I'm here to introduce to you Nurse Kim Lopez and Dr. Steve Shekel from Mercy, Iowa City Emergency Department. Mercy has donated us 3 kits of CPR in schools, and with 30 mannequins that are very portable and whatnot. These are going to our 3 junior highs. We teach CPR in our junior high PE curriculum to meet the requirement of the state that all seniors must have CPR, and so they'll be used in the PE curriculum, but also in other buildings as well. So just want to say a few words.
Just want to say we're pretty happy to continue to work with American Heart Association and getting tools out there for the kids so that they can learn. I mean, they're reusable. Up to hundreds of kids could use those kits to get their education. So we're pretty happy to continue to do so.
Hello. I just wanted to add that part of the reason behind this, and a lot of you probably are aware, CPR has been found to be the #1 thing that can help save a life. And it's in Iowa, the #1 cause of death, and in the United States also, is heart disease. And 50% of the people that die from heart disease actually die from what's called sudden cardiac death. And that's when somebody collapses and doesn't have a pulse. And they've shown that good CPR is the #1 thing that can save a life while people are waiting to get a defibrillator there. And part of the training involves #1, good CPR, and #2, how to use an automatic external defibrillator. And so the point of this, and I think it's wonderful that students are required to have this training, because it's going to equip them to go out in the world and potentially be the individual that saves a life. And it's been shown many times that people stand around waiting for the ambulance to show up, and those are critical minutes that could be the difference between somebody living and dying. And so I think it's a wonderful thing that it's required. And while this isn't going to be enough to equip everyone, these 3 kits will be enough to train hundreds of students, and I commend the school board and the state for having that requirement. It's a great thing, and we're glad to be able to be part of that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your generosity. And that concludes community comment this evening. The first agenda item is to approve our agenda for tonight. I would like to suggest that we move the 14th item under the consent agenda, which is the installation of the playground equipment for Longfellow Elementary, from the consent agenda tonight and move it to the May 8th meeting. The request to do so is so that we give the time for the playground committee to complete their work and report back to operations committee and provide that recommendation back to the full board. I think before we look at any more playground proposals, we should have that playground committee report in hand. And so that I would suggest modifying our agenda tonight with that one change to the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda with the change of moving the Longfellow playground equipment item to the May 8th agenda.
Second.
Kim, ready to vote?
Well, I just have a question before we vote.
Sure.
When is the playground committee's next meeting?
It's Monday. Go ahead, Kingsley.
Next Monday,
Okay.
5 o'clock.
We've been meeting weekly.
I just don't have a schedule, so I didn't know.
Any further comments, questions? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open.
Phil, I'm not getting yours.
I know, I was in, maybe I was in too early. There we go. Get it now?
Yep. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Phil, do you want to report on the bills this
Yes.
period?
We, in this pay period, we dispersed $3.4 million, $396,000 in Go Bond, and everything looks in order.
Thank you.
And on the consent agenda, I'd like to pull for clarification 10, 13, and 15.
Okay.
Move that we approve the consent agenda without 10, 13, and 15.
A second.
Kim, ready to vote?
And what was the last one? 17?
15.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rotland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eystone voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Items withdrawn. Phil, number 10.
Yeah, number 10, I'd just like, this is a 5-year contract. We're in the first year contract renewal. And just for interest for the community, Craig, can you elaborate on that process? And obviously, you've put it to us to renew, so you feel that we got good service this first year with this?
Yeah, we typically put this out for RFP on all of these on 3-year cycles, actually. And then we allow for an extension up to 3 more cycles in that original RFP. And we're within that time frame on these particular vendors. And the work has been, the service has been satisfactory, and so therefore we're just recommending that. It will go out to RFP again when we're done with that, or if we find that we don't receive the service that we feel that we need.
And that would be at go out for RFP at what time?
In our normal food service operation, we like to line someone up before the next fiscal year. So we would probably be for nutrition services for like uniforms in particular, or a milk vendor. We would line them up in January, February timeframe for the next school year.
Okay, very good. I move that item 10 be approved.
Second.
Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Number 13.
And on 13, the money for this is coming out of Pebble, correct?
It is.
Wouldn't this fall under that bond funding?
Well, I don't think it was included in the bond language, and we considered it as a small project under Pebble. I think it wasn't identified as a project with the bond. I mean, could it be included with the city high project?
I'm sorry, Dwayne, I'm having
You're asking if it could have been.
It was or it was not?
It was not included
okay.
in the bond language.
Okay, very good. I move that we approve number 13.
Second.
I'm ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
15.
And on, yes, in item 15, on the Longfellow change order, can you elaborate on that one?
Sure, be happy to. There were a couple changes there. The ones that were significant was they're we call them structural helical piers. There was some undermining of the foundations in that building, so we had to go in there and basically they're big augers that go on the ground and we tie them into the foundations to support them. Some real needs for that. The biggest part of this, over half of this change order, was for deteriorating plaster. And when buildings are over 100 years old or close to it, and I've seen several in the past, the plaster actually starts to fall off the walls and the ceilings, and it becomes a hazard. I've been in schools where plaster ceilings fell. Fortunately, there's no students under them. But I saw the same condition in this building, as did the architects, and we felt it best to spend the dollars necessary to secure the plaster, cover it up, so we wouldn't have an issue in the future. So that was a big part of it. That was $63,000 plus. Also, we had to remove some structural or some water lines that were abandoned. The city requires we do that when we find them, and a couple other smaller electrical HVAC items. That was the majority of it.
And those were all unforeseen prior to construction?
Absolutely were.
Dwayne, I'm curious on the Tate design. Did we end up doing 1 or 2 classrooms?
Well, I know it's not on this agenda, but we're waiting. What we're doing is waiting on the
Aren't we approving
Tate?
The Tate design, step 4?
We have Southeast Junior High and Alexander, step 4. I think we did Tate last time, but it's okay. I'll answer the question.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
attached here. Maybe it's
Wow.
yeah. Okay.
At Tate, we're waiting on the estimator's report on what they predict the cost to be, and had a conversation today with Ann Browning just so she was aware of it. But they'd obviously like to see 4, but I'd like to see the cost estimates first to see if the budget will support that. I'm kind of doubtful that it will, because we added a nice commons area to the gym and the 2 classrooms. I think that's probably all that will stay in the budget.
Thank you.
And the total on those change orders at Longfellow is what, 126?
126, 147.
147?
126, 147.
Yeah, it's the cost of a playground.
I move that we approve Appendix 9 requests.
Second.
Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast and the motion carries, with Directors Rotland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eystone voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Thank you. Now into public hearings. The first is the West High School Fire Lane Project.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed plans and specifications for the West High Fire Lane Project. The Board of Directors set the date for this public hearing on April 10th, 2018. Notice of public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on April 11th, 2018. The district will receive bids on this project at 2 p.m. on May 10th, 2018 at the physical plant located at 1137 South Riverside Drive, Iowa City, Iowa 52246. Notice to contractors was published as required by law in multiple statewide plan rooms and on the Iowa City Community School District website on April 11th, 2018. Are there any questions from the board? Are there any questions from the public? I declare this public hearing closed.
The second public hearing related to the Lincoln Elementary School property.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the district's proposed conveyance of district property to grant 1 storm and 2 sanitary sewer easements as described in the attached document to the City of Iowa City. Notice of public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on April 13th, 2018. Are there any comments from the board? Is there anyone from the audience that would like to advise or provide comments to the board on the proposed disposition of this property? I declare this public hearing closed.
And we have our third public hearing.
Now is the time and place for the public hearing on the district's proposed conveyance of District 12.19 acres of district-owned property adjacent to North Liberty Road and identified as auditor's parcel 2006159. Notice of public hearing was published in the Iowa City Press Citizen on April 13th, 2018. Are there any comments from the board? Is there anyone from the audience that would like to advise or provide comments to the board on the proposed disposition of this property? I declare this public hearing closed.
Thank you. Now on to action items. The first one up is Appendix 2, Superintendent Evaluation Process with Revisions.
Janet, I think.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, Dwayne.
I apologize. I did have a clarification. I just spoke with the architect on the Tate project. He said his plans were to design the extra 2 classrooms as a bid alternate. Same difference. If we can afford it on bid day, at least it will be designed. So he's included the design, but that's no guarantee that we'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have the original RFP on that one? Can we just have that emailed to us?
On the Tate project?
Yep.
Sure.
Paul, Appendix 2.
Well, these are the items that we talked about at the last meeting, so I don't know if we need to have any further discussion on them. Otherwise, I would look to approve them. If someone wants to make that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Paul, again, Appendix 6, Complaint Process.
Yep, same thing. We also brought this one to the last meeting to be looked at, and now we're just looking to get it approved. Otherwise, we can send it back to committee if you have any questions on it. Otherwise, I think it's ready to go.
I move that we approve the Appendix 6 complaint process and the grievance procedure.
Second.
Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. Janet, I'm not getting yours.
Oh, you didn't get mine. I'm sorry. I'm a yay.
That's okay.
There we go.
All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rutland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eystone voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Thank you. Next up, the LGBTQ board statement. We discussed this first, I think, at Ed committee meeting, and then discussed at our last board meeting. We felt as a board that it was important to vote on this statement as a show of sort of ratifying, codifying our support. And I would put that forward for a motion to approve the LGBTQ board statement.
So moved.
Second.
Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you.
President Godwin, before we move forward, just want to say a quick, brief statement. Thank you for your support in this way. As we talked about at the Board Education Committee meeting, this is the first domino, and so I have my roadmap pulled up as far as the things that we're working on, and I was able to talk to young Caroline before she left and just talked about the fact that there's some things going on that we'd love to include her on. So we're working on that, and again, thank you for your vote.
Fantastic, thanks. Next up, we have a Mann School property disposition on the Mann Blue House. I just like the title.
Oh, don't bring up the red one.
Approve the Mann School property disposition.
Any comments, questions? If not, Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rutland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eystone voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Next up, the ICCSD land swap disposition resolution with Scanlon.
I move that we
Maybe-
approve. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, just for a little history on this, we're perhaps closing the books on something that Craig and I inherited when we came, and we're excited about the opportunity coupled with the vote on number 7 when you get to that to move forward with creating some options for the board and perhaps future boards as we move forward and look at growth in the North Liberty and North Coralville area.
I move that we approve the land disposition resolution for the Scanlon property.
Second.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rutland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eystone voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Next up, North Liberty 17.7 acre site purchase agreement. Is there any context on that, or?
Again, this is part of the work that we've been doing to secure some flexible spaces as we consider future growth. I know that we've had a chance to look at some of the demographic projections up there. We presume that there will be a need in the not too distant future. We also know that as things are growing quickly up there, we really wanted to work to preserve some spaces that would have adequate room for elementary schools up there, and this would be one of those.
I move that we approve the North Liberty property purchase.
Second.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. Last up, Coralville 42.4 acres site purchase agreement, including the Scanlon swap property.
Again, it's our opportunity. This particular parcel is right across the street from Liberty High School, so we think it gives us not only some great flexibility for you as a board, but also creates for us some campus efficiencies. So we're excited about the opportunities that this will present in the future.
So just to be clear to the public, what's happening here is we had a parcel of land where we were going to build, at that time, Grant. We decided to build Grant elsewhere, and now we're swapping land to a different location in this, roughly the same area for a larger space, correct?
Yes, it's north of it within that same contiguous, what's referred to often as the Scanlon Farms property.
I move that we approve the Scanlon property purchase.
Second.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rutland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eystone voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Thank you. Next up is agenda setting for the May 8th board meeting. We did move the Longfellow Playground consent item to the May 8th meeting, so that should be reflected here. We'll be discussing under presentations the modified FMP. We'll be going into work session on that shortly to have a conversation there. We'll be looking at the annual student climate survey report, the annual affirmative action equity report, the quarterly financial report for third quarter, the annual asset protection report, the annual sustainability report, and the annual workplace safety report. Wow. It's the annual report meeting.
One of
Anything
two.
else?
It's one of 2 annual report meetings.
Yes,
Oh, did I miss the equity committee? Yes, I did. Yes, thank you. I needed to keep scrolling. We've got the equity committee update on objective 3 discipline. And then we'll have committee reports from policy and governance, operations, and we'll discuss at the board meeting on May 8th the possibility of exploring moving away from the Carver governance model for our board policy work. And we'll see if there's appetite from the board to have those conversations. And then finally, we'll conclude the meeting with Director Liaison Reports, legislative update, and again, agenda setting. Anything that we should consider adding?
Hopefully at that time we have a playground committee update, so I put that on there as well.
Would that come from the operations committee, Phil? Since the playground is reporting to op.
Well, playground committee is is operating on its own, but however you want to do that logistically. If you want to do it
We should get an update at operations on Tuesday after your meeting on Monday from the playground committee.
Okay,
At the very
so-
least, and then either we could
kick it and into that, that's
both
fine.
probably speak to it since you're on
Okay.
the one and,
Sure.
you know, we'll both be at the
No,
operations.
that's
so I
that's
think we
fine.
can-
I just wanted to make sure that we
Yep.
had a spot for that.
Perfect.
And also, I'd like a discussion on the Terracon contract.
As a discussion item,
Yes.
okay.
And if it would be possible to get a superintendent update on the Longfellow staffing.
Longfellow staffing as for the new school.
What's happening with the staff at Longfellow?
I'm not, well, we'll have to see if there's information that we can share on that matter. Anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.